Yeah, Graham, Miami-Dade.
We're back in the office like we never left with a special guest, actually a young candidate for the counselor Group 2, right?
It's Hialeah City Council Group 5.
Oh, Group 5. See, that's something that I want you to explain to us. But before you explain to us about the groups, because that, even me, I don't know about the groups. I wanted to know a little bit more about your background. Are you from Hialeah? Are you Cuban? If you can explain to us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mercy, first of all, I want to thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. And yeah, so a bit about me, right? So my name is Christopher Monzon. Obviously, yes, I'm running for Hialeah City Council Group 5. And I'm Hialeah born and raised. So my family moved to Hialeah, Florida from the Bronx, New York.
Oh, nice.
In 1964.
Oh, and wow.
My background is proudly Cuban. I am 100% Cubano-Americano, Cuban-American. And my family moved there in 64, and we've lived there ever since. And so I grew up going to Hialeah Elementary. And then after Hialeah Elementary, I went to La Escuela, the Lincoln Marti.
Oh, okay.
And after graduating from Lincoln Marti School, which is a private school that inculcated me in patriotism, it is where I learned Spanish, how to read and write in Spanish, which has become very useful to me. I went to Miami-Dade College, which is where I am currently graduating in business administration.
Oh, nice. Wow. Nice. So you were born and raised in Hialeah, and you're now in your 20s. Have you seen such a drastic change in what's going on in Hialeah? Like, do you feel like Hialeah is going backwards or it's getting upgraded? Because when I went to a candidate's house, I was born and raised in Hialeah. I felt like I was back in my childhood. Like, I didn't see any changes. Have you noticed the same thing, or do you think it's doing better?
So, I would say that it is stagnant. I would say that right now, Hialeah is in a situation where it's not exactly going backward, but it's not going forward either. So there was a time where we were seeing a lot of actual progress, right? I mean, that is our namesake. There was a time where we were growing, and that was in the era of Mayor Raul Martinez up until, I would say, Julio Rovina. In that time, Hialeah was the leading city in parks and recreation. We had the leading fire department response in the nation, which was probably something like 5 minutes. And we were making strides in business and many other areas. But probably for the last 5 years, I have not seen any more of that. We have remained stagnant. Right now, there is a lot of issues with crime. There's a lot of issues with affordability. And also, a lot of our parks and rec programs have left the city. They've been either cut or discontinued for whatever reasons that the city might have. And right now, we are lacking in those amenities and lacking in just the basic needs that the people want in the city.
Right. When I tell the media, the social media, that we're doing a podcast with candidates from Hialeah, the first question always is the water issue. What do you think is happening with the water? Like, do you think, because another candidate was saying, well, it's a pipe burst. Another candidate was saying, no, it's just the water department. It's not updated. Everything's, there's kind of like, I don't want to say it, but it is corruption. Right. Yeah. I hate that word. But there is, because there's people complaining that their water bill is very expensive. You know, from a family of 4, they're paying a water bill almost $1,000. And there's a fee. There's like a fee, little hidden fee that people don't see in their bill. And a lot of people are noticing now. So is that an issue that you're willing to work with whoever runs as a mayor?
Absolutely. I think it's a very important issue, and it's one of the complaints that I get the most from the residents. So one of the things that I've been doing, and I'm very proud to do, is I've been going door to door for the last 4 months and having quality conversations with the residents of Hialeah. And one of the chief complaints is exactly that, the water. And it's not just the cost of water, if not, it's also the quality of the water itself. They're telling me that it's coming in discolored, that it smells off, that there's something wrong with it, and that they have to purify their water or drink bottled water instead of city water. And I'm doing the same thing, by the way. I don't drink city water anymore because I can't. It just has a very strange smell. a very noxious smell.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that,
Were
a lot
you-
of residents are very concerned. And
so how many people have told you that?
probably over 24 people at this point.
Wow.
So, and I've knocked on 5,000 doors and dozens of people every day telling me.
The same thing. So were you in shock that the mayor, Jacqueline, said in the news that that's not true?
Yeah, I was a bit put off by that because it's such a common complaint. And
Right.
so this is what I've learned,
Mm-hmm.
and because I've done some investigating into the matter,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's three things. It is a system, a sewage system that's in need of serious upgrading.
Mm-hmm.
It is a misallocation of funds, and it is also a mismanagement of the water department. So those three things are the main reasons why we have this issue,
Mm-hmm.
because we have a budget that's $500 million. What needs to be done is that we need to look at the budget and make sure that the money we have right now is utilized to fix our sewer system. Because another thing too is the overdevelopment. Because we cannot have the current infrastructure that we have right now
Mm-hmm.
with the rate of development. It's not, they're not compatible. We either upgrade our sewer system to
Mm-hmm.
meet the demands that are being brought to the city, which are inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't like development, but it is inevitable. But we have to be prepared to meet it. And that's one of the things I want to do. And so you mentioned the fee. So that's called the franchise fee that the city of Hialeah has hidden in there for many years. It's nothing new. I would like to get rid of that. I think that it's an extra burden on the residents.
It is.
And there's something that can be done to fix that. And I'm going to explore that with the city
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that not only do they have quality water, but affordable water as well. Because most of the people that live in Hialeah, as you know, are people on a fixed income,
Right.
already retired.
Mm-hmm.
They've built their lives there. And all they want to do is be able to continue living there and leave their homes to their families.
Correct. Correct.
Like my family, we fled from Cuba to build a better life in Hialeah, free from communism, free from any sort of impediment to a better life. And so right now, I want to make sure that the people in Hialeah have that quality of life again. And so starting with the water, that's a good way to start.
Right. Another thing, now that we're talking about communists, there is an agency called Cuba Max
Yes.
in Cuba, in Hialeah, that it's surprising me that it's grown so fast in Hialeah. When I went 2 weeks ago, I saw 4 of them. And it's crazy that no one has done any investigation with Cuba Max. That there's rumors that they work directly with the dictatorship of Cuba. Do you think Hialeah should do an investigation towards Cuba Max?
Absolutely. Not only an investigation, but should they be found to be collaborating with the communist regime in Cuba, I think they should be removed. I think that their license should be revoked, and I think that they should leave our city because, again, we're primarily a Cuban-American city, and most of the people that live there, if not all of them, are there because of the fact that they want a life free of communism, free of communist influence. And of course, there are bad actors in Hialeah who live there and benefit from organizations like Cuba Max. But overall, by and large, there are a lot of people who disagree with it and who want it gone from our city because they see it as an insult to the Cuban diaspora that has fled Cuba, to the Cuban exile community. Now, I will say this. There are families that do use organizations like Cuba Max for legitimate reasons to feed their loved ones in Cuba. But I think there are other ways that can be found to do this in humanitarian means, rather than have nefarious organizations such as Cuba Max exist and continue to prolong the suffering of the Cuban people as a whole.
Right, and it seems to me it's very strange that how they grow so fast, and in a small business that wants to get a second location, they have to go through hell with permits, licensing. It takes forever, and this Cuba Max have grown so fast around all Florida. It's not just Hialeah, it's around all Florida, and no one has said, oh, let's do an investigation. There's rumors about this. I don't understand why that is happening. So to me, there's something there that someone knows about it. It's probably getting some money under the table, but you guys need to do your investigation.
No, absolutely. that's something that's really a chief concern to me, because again, we need to end the suffering of the Cuban people. And what better way to do that than to start right here in our own soil and ensure that we are not feeding the regime. We have to cut off their lifeblood and make sure that we stop it. So that's going to be one of the things I'm looking forward to working and stopping. So.
Another question is the budget management in Hialeah. There's a lot of rumors, pensions. They left to Washington. They're still getting pension. There's a lot of budget misleaded. They don't know where the money's going to. Will you be sitting down with the mayor to see where the budget is going to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that fiscal responsibility and transparency are key to a good functioning government and city. And that's something that's definitely lacking right now. I've done inquiries into it. I've been told that no such pension exists. As a matter of fact,
they have told you that.
Yes, I raised the issue up at a council meeting, and I was told verbatim that no such thing exists, that nobody there has a pension, and so
everybody's making up lies. All the paperwork are fake and everything.
That's what that councilman claimed.
Oh.
And I'm not going to name any names.
Of course, fine.
But that's what the councilman claimed. And so what I know is that in February they did indeed vote to bring about a pension. And one of them was a retroactive pension for the outgoing mayor, Esteban Bobo, who gave himself a pension, if I'm not mistaken, $90,000 a year, which I believe is a slap in the face to everybody in Hialeah. And also, this was done without the consent of anybody in the city, none of the residents, because in 2013, the city of Hialeah, then under Mayor Carlos Hernandez, had voted to remove all the pensions for the politicians. And so now all of a sudden, when we're in these financial dire straits, you decide to bring them back, on a whim, without anybody's consent, without putting it up for a vote with the city, with the residents. They just decide to give themselves a retroactive pension and forget about everybody else. I think that's a mistake. And so one of the things I want to do is, as I mentioned earlier, make sure that the funds in the city are being used properly. And another thing too, our city workers, the people we see on the streets, the people who work in the streets department, the people who work in water and sewer, the people who actually make things happen on a day-to-day basis in the building department, all of those individuals, they deserve better pay, they deserve better coverage. Parks and Recreation too. I think that we need to put a lot of emphasis in Parks and Rec. We need to bring back more programs. We used to be #1 in the nation. We can be again. People shouldn't be going to Miami Lakes. People shouldn't be going to Doral. People should be going to Hialeah. And as their councilman, I'm going to make sure that Hialeah is back on the map as the place to be for Parks and Recreation for kids and adults alike. And so one of the things I'm going to make sure is that we allocate the proper funds to hire more employees for Parks and Recreation, to have after-school programs for Parks and Recreation, to also get funding from the state for those programs. And
right now, sorry to cut you off, but right now parks are in danger.
Yeah.
Because I know Hialeah got approved to do apartments in the green schools.
Exactly. Yes.
So as a council person, how can you stop from that happening? That's so sad that they want to remove the PE, the fields where the kids go playing. They want to make apartments there.
Yes, it's very unfortunate, and it's nothing new. This has been going on for a while.
It's been going on for a while, but it's new now because we have the power of social media.
So
that's why I told a candidate who came here. Before, these guys used to do it
and get away with
it.
Exactly.
We used to watch it at 5 o'clock in the news, or or at 10 o'clock at night, or on Sundays in the newspaper. Now there's social media.
Right, so now we can expose it.
Correct.
And where I stand on that is I'm completely against it. I think that right now the council is going to vote in favor of it. That's a given. But once the new administration goes in, we're going to do everything we can. I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that doesn't go forward, because we need more parks. It's good for the residents. It's good for the city. Like I said, we're going to continue to grow. But we have to do it in a responsible manner. We have to make sure that we preserve our green spaces, because it's for the health of the residents, for their well-being. And so
My only concern is that no one's talking about this. No one is. Only the city of Miami is talking about it. They want to extend their terms for 1 more year. And right now, as we're speaking, they're actually voting for that right now. And my thing is that if they get approval, the city of Miami, to extend their terms, that's going to open a lot of stuff for Hialeah. So I'm very worried that that's going to happen in Hialeah. Is there any way we can stop from that happening? Because they're already saying that people from the outsiders can come that day, the next council board meeting, to vote for that. They're trying to push that already in Hialeah. Are you worried about that? About those extending those terms?
Well, I would say it sets a negative precedent. I would say so, but as far as Hialeah goes, I haven't heard any conversations about it. So
there's rumors.
There are rumors, but
that's what I always tell everybody. Once you let a city do that, it opens doors.
Yeah, it sets a precedent.
Correct.
And then other cities will follow suit. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We should be concerned about it. Right now, I haven't heard anything, but I would say it's a negative thing, generally speaking, overall. Also, this was done without the consent of anybody in the city, none of the residents, because in 2013, the city of Hialeah, then under Mayor Carlos Hernandez, had voted to remove all the pensions for the politicians. And so now all of a sudden, when we're in these financial dire straits, you decide to bring them back, on a whim, without anybody's consent, without putting it up for a vote with the city, with the residents. They just decide to give themselves a retroactive pension and forget about everybody else. I think that's a mistake. And so one of the things I want to do is, as I mentioned earlier, make sure that the funds in the city are being used properly. And another thing too, our city workers, the people we see on the streets, the people who work in the streets department, the people who work in water and sewer, the people who actually make things happen on a day-to-day basis, in the building department, all of those individuals, they deserve better pay, they deserve better coverage. Parks and Recreation too. I think that we need to put a lot of emphasis in Parks and Rec. We need to bring back more programs. We used to be #1 in the nation. We can be again. People shouldn't be going to Miami Lakes. People shouldn't be going to Doral. People should be going to Hialeah. And as their councilman, I'm going to make sure that Hialeah is back on the map as the place to be for Parks and Recreation for kids and adults alike. And so one of the things I'm going to make sure is that we allocate the proper funds to hire more employees for Parks and Recreation, to have after-school programs for Parks and Recreation, to also get funding from the state for those programs.
You used to have the best of factories.
Well, due to global politics and national policies, all of that is over. And even now with Trump's tariffs, it's not coming back. It's not coming back. Hialeah is never going to be that Hialeah again. But we can be the new scene for technology. We can be the new scene for, say, shipment fulfillment centers, which we have some already, but we can bring more. There's a lot more that we can do. And Hialeah is just sitting there ready for that. We're ready for a new way of doing things, and I want to make sure that we move the ball on that, because we need the jobs, and we need to have a place where people can build a home, a future. So one of my arguments against the development, for example, is this. You want to bring people to live there, but where are they going to work? You're going to tell me they're going to commute 50 minutes, 45 minutes to downtown, to Brickell, or to Fort Lauderdale.
Or especially traffic in Hialeah is horrible.
Yes, which is another thing, but we'll get there. And that's another complaint I get a lot, by the way. I get a lot of that, a lot of the traffic. And so, I always say, well, yeah, we bring the people, but where do they work? How do they pay their bills? I think we can also do a lot more in terms of our medical facilities. Right now, Hialeah Hospital, Palmetto Hospital, they are our 2 largest hospitals in the city, and yet they are suffering. They are going bankrupt, and they're understaffed. They're also antiquated. We need to revitalize these institutions. We need to make sure that they're able to provide quality health care. Now, some people say, well, maybe the Jackson health system should buy them. We got to look into these things and also, again, make sure that they provide a good industry for the people that live in Hialeah. So those are things that I'm concerned about, but more than anything else, transparency. So Hialeah did something recently with Doge. I don't know if you remember that. That was back in March.
Yeah.
I want a real Doge because I don't consider that a real Doge. Okay, that was essentially a ploy by the outgoing administration to give themselves the
it was
air.
like a propaganda.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was to give themselves an air of legitimacy and a sort of fit into the trends. But I want a real Doge, and I'm going to use it to deliver that transparency to the residents and keep everybody accountable.
Talking about Mayor Bowo, were you surprised that he was leaving to Washington?
No.
No?
No. I mean, look, this is somebody who has jumped from state house seat to county commissioner to running for county mayor to running for Hialeah mayor. He's a politician, and that's fine. We can all do what we like.
Right.
But that is something that's been typical of his behavior since he got into politics in the first place, which is a lot longer than I've ever been on this planet. So yeah.
Oh my! I thought he was gonna finish his term and then leave. I didn't expect him to abandon Hialeah because that's what he did.
Yeah.
So you weren't surprised he was gonna do that?
No. Not at all. Not at all. And now I was disappointed because every mayor in our city has always finished their term, even if they're termed out. Like the last mayor, he was termed out, and the mayor before Bovo, Carlos Hernandez, he was termed out, but he stayed until the very end, until the transition of power took place. He didn't just say, "Oh, look, I'm calling it in."
Yeah.
Whereas Bovo just not even when his term is ending.
No, he got approval for his pension, and then
several
a month
months
later,
before,
yeah,
way out, he gets approval for his pension, and he just takes off and leaves the city in absolute shambles. And I think that was an incorrect way of doing things, especially since he ran as the reform candidate. In 2021, Bovo ran on a solid platform. He did. He really did, and a lot of people, drank the Kool-Aid. A lot of people went for it, and believed it. And his whole vision for Hialeah was, look, we're going to make this an American city again. We're going to.
A few people saw the fakeness in him, and then that's where. One of the candidates was here a couple of weeks ago that I asked him, why did you betray Bobo and you started supporting Living Kava? And he explained to me that he saw that the fakeness in him. So it was crazy.
Well, I mean, some people say that, some people can say that, but I think that having Living Kava in the county, Living Kava is interesting because she works with people, but also at the same time, she can be partisan at times. So but as far as Bovo goes, back to Bovo, he sold a platform of change, but I have not seen it. And that's one of the things that prompted me to run again, because I ran in 2021. Of course, at that time, I was not as experienced, not as prepared. And so I've been in politics since I was 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
Okay, yeah. I joined the RPOF at 20, served in the Republican Executive Committee. And so I also was a field organizer, and if you want to ask me about that, you can. And so I've known Bovo for a long time, and I've known a lot of Republicans for a long time, and I'm of the opinion that it's just very much a matter of doing things the right way. And what I want to do once I'm elected is tackle the issues that aren't being looked at, like the water, like our police department, like our firefighters and their situation. Thankfully now it's been improved, but it can be better. Our streets. These are things that Mayor Bovo just sort of left up in the air. And
like abandoned?
Yep. Yeah. And it left us all very much betrayed. That's the word. That's sad. Yeah.
So my next question, what are your views on public safety in your community?
Well, so
there's a list.
It's interesting. Yes, there's a list. And so I guess I should start with my own personal experience. So in 2022, I was working for the Republican Party of Florida, promoting the campaign of then U.S. Senator Marco Rubio. and it was something I was very proud of. I helped them get reelected, as well as Ron DeSantis. And so a little bit of what we did, so as a field organizer, I was in charge of canvassing operations, of voter outreach operations in the northwest area of Miami-Dade, which included Hialeah, Miami Lakes, Miami Springs, Medley, Doral. My whole jurisdiction were those cities, and me and my team, what we would do is we would knock on doors, register voters, let them know about the elections, and also survey them on how they felt. In that capacity, on October 23rd, 2022, in Hialeah, out of all places, I was assaulted for wearing a Marco Rubio shirt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Hialeah.
In Hialeah.
And it was the most bizarre occurrence, okay? I was just walking, it was approximately 6:30 at night, and there were just two guys hanging out on the sidewalk, which is a very typical thing. You know, in Hialeah, everybody hangs out on the sidewalk on an afternoon, on a Sunday. So I thought to myself, you know, it's no big deal. But then they took issue with my shirt, and to make a long story short, they assaulted me, these individuals.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and it was in Hialeah, Florida, out of all places. And it really baffled me, but it just goes to show that we do have a public safety issue. You know, there's a lot of crime in Hialeah, and that is a result of the fact that our population has just expanded drastically, okay? We are now nearing 300,000 residents, and we're not the same city we used to be. And so we're not as safe, okay? They say we're the second safest city in South Florida. Relatively speaking, that's probably true. But on the ground in Hialeah, nobody believes that, because people do live in a bit of fear, you know. And I know because when I knock on doors, people won't open the door all the way.
They'll do like halfway.
Yeah, a lot of people will peek. A lot of people will ask me what it is that I want, which are natural responses,
Right.
You know, because right now the situation in Hialeah isn't what it used to be. There are a lot more robberies going on. There are a lot more physical, you know, assaults going on, myself included. I'm an example of that. And one of the biggest issues that we have right now is that our police department is understaffed.
It is.
We're understaffed.
Even dispatchers.
And so what's going on is a lot of our officers that are, you know, cadets that are coming in and joining the Hialeah Police Department, graduating, they aren't really seeing an incentive to stay in the city because of the pay. Hialeah's police department pays an average of $55,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
Whereas they can go to the city of Doral. They
Right.
can go to the city of Miami. They can go to the county, to Miami-Dade County, and get an entering salary of anywhere between $60,000 to $65,000 a year to start. Just to start. And so that, along with the way the city is running the police department, is leading a lot of police officers that are coming into our city to leave. And that's one of the issues I want to tackle. I want to tackle the retention issue. I want to make sure that we retain our officers, we properly train them, we give them the resources that they need to do their job, and to feel proud doing it. Because yes, a lot of the older officers that have been in there, they're making good salaries.
Right.
But the young ones that are coming up the ranks, they're not, and they're not seeing any of the benefits of remaining in Hialeah, and we have to make sure that they do. We have to make sure that they have a welcoming environment, and that's what I aim to bring them.
My next question: how do you plan to promote and growth of support local business? I've noticed a lot of business are closing down in Hialeah.
Yes.
A lot of them, it says, you know, the rent is too expensive. It takes forever for them to get their permits, and they're leaving. They're actually leaving to Doral or Miami Lakes. What can you do to help the small business? Because they need protection. They need help.
Well, one of the things is, you know, again, lower taxes. Lower taxes, and also streamline, as I mentioned earlier, streamline the process to get, you know, the permitting to set up and make it more affordable. Because right now it's neither simple or easy. You know, it's neither simple or affordable to do it in Hialeah. A lot of people tell me it takes several weeks to obtain a permit.
Or months too.
Or months, and it's several $100s, and then they have to pass all these inspection fees and pay for them. And it's just a ridiculous amount of work for something so simple as just setting up. So it sort of de-incentivizes businesses. It disincentivizes businesses from even wanting to come there. And as a matter of fact, I was at a local business just the other day, and we were just waiting there for some products that I had ordered, and the person just told me, look, I'm closing down next month. I can't afford to rent here anymore. And it just hurts me when people tell me that, because these are people who want to build a life for themselves in our city. These are people who are contributing to our city. Local businesses are the backbone of any community. And if we don't take care of those local businesses, then everything else falls apart. So we need to take care of our mom and pop stores, of our dollar stores, of our bakeries, of our local restaurants, which a lot of them are closing down. You know, we need to take care of those locations, because those locations are staples of Hialeah. You know, while we continue to grow and while we continue to bring new businesses and new opportunities, we have to keep the ones we already have in business, so that everyone can prosper, so that there's an equilibrium between the two. Because again, the local people are the roots of the city, and we need them there.
For sure. And that breaks my heart too when they tell me, oh, we have to close down. And it sucks. It sucks because I always say small business are the ones that feed the community.
Exactly.
You know, we're focused on the political, we're focused on police, we're focused on the big headquarters, but the small business are the ones that feed the community.
Exactly.
In my opinion. I don't know, am I right or am I
You're
right?
absolutely right. Okay. And that's why I want to streamline the process for small businesses. Maybe even give them grants and see what we can work with the state. Maybe even at the federal level, make sure that we can bring businesses in and say, look, we can give you a loan, or we can help you out in some form, in some way, to get people started in Hialeah who are entrepreneurial, who want to do something to provide a service to the community. Because like I said, I want to bring big business in. I want to bring corporations into Hialeah to give people those high-paying jobs. But we need the local people too. And we have to have consideration for everyone.
Good. I like to hear that. I have it recording, so.
Well, that's for the record then.
Yes. So I have another question. What do you plan to get yourself involved in the residents? A lot of residents keep on saying that it's very difficult to talk to their politicians. So I feel that the new candidates should do cafecito time or do events to bring that community to talk to you guys. There's a lot of residents that have a lot of concerns, traffic, the water, and they don't know how to approach the political people. So what are your plans to do, or events, or to be for the residents to get to know you a little bit more and to talk about their concerns with you?
Well, that's a great question, and that's something that everybody at the door tells me. They always say, you're knocking at my door now, but I'm not going to see you again. And I say, on my flyer, I wish I had it with me right now. On my flyer, on the very bottom, I have my phone number. And I tell them, look, whatever you need from here and even after the election, you can call me. That's my direct line to my cell phone number. Keep in touch with me. Whatever you need, whether it's just to grab a coffee.
They say that. They say, you guys are knocking at my door because it's election, but
exactly.
once you get
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And so I tell them, look, whatever you need, doesn't matter what time of the day it is, except maybe 3 a.m, don't call me. But whatever you need, you can call me, and then we can meet up. We can have a conversation about, I don't know, your car, anything. Just,
Right. Well, are you planning? Will you be able to do like events maybe once a month?
Yes,
or like
I love to.
How they call it?
I love to, and I think it's more than just cafecito. I want to be their friend, because these are my neighbors. These are people.
And they're gonna be feeling closer to you guys because you guys are young too.
Yes. So
that's why I always support the young people, because it's easier to talk to a young person than an older person, in a sense, because the older person, they look mean. I don't know. With you guys, people feel more flexible to talk to. So I think it's very important, any politician, to do once a month, do a little event, maybe one time in the morning, one time in the evening, to see which one works for you, for you guys, and just to socialize with your residents.
No,
because
absolutely.
at the end of the day, their taxes are the ones that are paying your bills. So you have to respect them, and you have to be, having that family. I feel that's what I feel, that all politicians should do some events in the morning or maybe in the afternoon for you guys to have communication. So I'm glad that you're willing to do that.
No, I certainly am, and I always tell them, this is more than just me as a candidate. This is a personal connection. One of the things that I've learned about public service is that when you talk to someone, you don't so much tell them about you. you talk to them about them, because
Correct.
at the end of the day, it's their needs
Correct.
that drive your charge.
Mm-hmm.
And how I know a lot of the things I know is that I'm talking to the residents. I'm having quality conversations with them day after day after day. And I always promise them, I'm going to see you again. And
it's in the record.
What I love, yes, what I love about door knocking, about canvassing and going door to door,
I love that too.
is that I get to look people
It's old
in the eye.
school, but it does work.
Yes, I get to look people in the eye, and they know that I'm genuine. They know that I know what I'm talking about to them, because so often, more often than not, a lot of politicians, they have no substance to what they say. Sadly, they have no substance to what they say, and they'll mislead the residents. And they'll say things like, "Oh yeah, honesty, integrity. That's what I'm bringing."
Right.
But how?
How? Yeah.
How? And they don't even talk about the issues, or even how to fix the issues. And so when they're put on the spot, there's nothing there. But more often than not, they're not on the spot, because once they're elected, that's it. They're there. And that's the biggest issue. That's why I love talking to residents. I love being asked tough questions by the residents. Because that way, I know what's going on, and if there's something I don't know, then I learn from them. I learn from them, and I'm able to implement that in my policies, in the way I will conduct myself on the dais, in the work that I'll do as a representative for the people. And it's really crucial to have that rapport with the resident. It's really crucial to treat them as your neighbor and as your friend than just another voter, because they're not just another voter. That person... I've run into people I knew in high school. I've run into people who I've known in college. I've ran into former teachers.
Oh, nice.
So these are people that have basically had a part in my life in some form or way. And to be able to talk to them again and see them means the world to me.
Yeah,
so cool. It's all about that connection. And Hialeah, we're unique in one way, and I love that. We're a big city, but we act like a small town.
Yeah.
We act like a small town.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. Whenever something happens, everybody talks about it. And it's something special about our city that really is amplified when you go door to door, knocking and talking to people. And so having that connection with the residents is going to be top priority for me. To those residents that have opened the door for me, and also to those who haven't, my door will always be open for them. My door will always be open to every resident who has a concern, whether they vote for me or not, whether they open the door for me or not, whether I've never met them in my life. They have an open door to my office anytime, and they can always count on me to be there for them.
Right. So
those are things that I'm concerned about, but more than anything else, transparency. So Hialeah did something recently with Doge. I don't know if you remember that. That was back in March.
Yeah.
I want a real Doge, because I don't consider that a real Doge. Okay. That was essentially a ploy by the outgoing administration to give themselves the
air. It was like a propaganda.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was to give themselves an air of legitimacy and a sort of fit into the trends. But I want a real Doge, and I'm going to use it to deliver that transparency to the residents and keep everybody accountable.
Talking about Mayor Bowo, were you surprised that he was leaving to Washington?
No.
No?
No. I mean, look, this is somebody who has jumped from state house seat to county commissioner to running for county mayor to running for Hialeah mayor. He's a politician, and that's fine. We can all do what we like.
Right.
But that is something that's been typical of his behavior since he got into politics in the first place, which is a lot longer than I've ever been on this planet. So yeah.
Oh my! I thought he was gonna finish his term and then leave. I didn't expect him to abandon Hialeah, because that's what he did.
Yeah.
So you weren't surprised he was gonna do that?
No. Not at all. Not at all. And now I was disappointed, because every mayor in our city has always finished their term, even if they're termed out. Like the last mayor, he was termed out, and the mayor before Bovo, Carlos Hernandez, he was termed out, but he stayed until the very end, until the transition of power took place. He didn't just say, "Oh look, I'm calling it in."
Yeah.
Whereas Bovo just not even when his term is ending.
No, he got approval for his pension, and then
several
a month
months
later,
before.
Yeah.
Way out, he gets approval for his pension, and he just takes off and leaves the city in absolute shambles. And I think that was an incorrect way of doing things, especially since he ran as the reform candidate about the party and its candidates. And so we also organized events for Senator Rubio, so on and so forth. Those were my duties. And in that capacity, on October 23rd, 2022, in Hialeah, of all places, I was assaulted for wearing a Marco Rubio shirt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Hialeah.
In Hialeah.
And it was the most bizarre occurrence, okay? I was just walking, it was approximately 6:30 at night, and there were just two guys hanging out on the sidewalk, which is a very typical thing. You know, in Hialeah, everybody hangs out on the sidewalk on an afternoon, on a Sunday. So I thought to myself, you know, it's no big deal. But then they took issue with my shirt, and to make a long story short, they assaulted me, these individuals.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and it was in Hialeah, Florida, out of all places. And it really baffled me, but it just goes to show that we do have a public safety issue. You know, there's a lot of crime in Hialeah, and that is a result of the fact that our population has just expanded drastically, okay? We are now nearing 300,000 residents, and we're not the same city we used to be. And so, yeah.
So my next question, what are your views on public safety in your community?
Well, so...
There's a list.
It's interesting. Yes, there's a list. And so I guess I should start with my own personal experience. So in 2022, I was working for the Republican Party of Florida, promoting the campaign of then U.S. Senator Marco Rubio. And it was something I was very proud of. I helped him get reelected, as well as Ron DeSantis. And so a little bit of what we did. So as a field organizer, I was in charge of canvassing operations, of voter outreach operations in the northwest area of Miami-Dade, which included Hialeah, Miami Lakes, Miami Springs, Medley, Doral. My whole jurisdiction were those cities. And me and my team, what we would do is we would knock on doors, register voters, let them know about the elections, and also survey them on how they felt about the party and its candidates. And so we also organized events for Senator Rubio, so on and so forth. Those were my duties. And
so I have a question, because you're running for councilman.
Yes.
Group 5.
Correct.
There's how many groups?
There are 7 groups.
So what's the difference?
So right now in Hialeah, we have a strong mayor form of government, and the chief executive is the mayor. We do not have a city manager. The mayor takes on all those responsibilities. And so therefore, those 7 council members, which, by the way, we've had that form of government since its inception in 1925. That has not changed. We've had that form of government for 100 years, and how it works is that each councilman acts as a representative for the city, a lawmaker, and also an advisor to the mayor.
But you guys will all be in the board meeting.
And we're all members of the board.
Okay.
And the CEO is the mayor. And as I said, we make the laws, we advise, and we represent. Those are our 3 chief tasks as council members.
Okay. So thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it, and we wish you luck, and we'll be supporting you and looking at you walking around the streets.
Yeah.
Is there something else that you would like to say to our followers about you? Is there anything you wanted to, any points that you wanted to tell them?
Well, I can only say that I really hope to have the support of the city of Hialeah. The time for change is now. You know, we're celebrating our centennial. Let's also celebrate a new and young administration with fresh ideas to put Hialeah back on the map as a place to be, you know, and November 4th is the time to make that happen. So with your support, let's do it. And thank you so much for your time. And God bless the United States of America and the great city of Hialeah.
Yes, amen. Thank you so much.
Cream, the voice of Miami-Dade, your podcast.